If you have seen our previous videos on the camera setup, you should now have an optimum image and may well want to save individual images, a sequence of images, or videos for offline analysis. And we have the possibility to do all three in Peak Cockpit. When comparing images to analyze the performance of the sensor, the camera settings, optics, lighting, or any other external variable, we need to save the images and view them side by side. And we have two methods for saving images in Peak Cockpit. First, the most familiar and basic method is to simply click on the Save Image button, give the image file a name, choose the file format, and here we support PNG, bitmap, and JPEG, and then click Save. If you leave the acquisition live during this process, we will save the last image that was acquired before clicking the Save button. If you want a specific image, then you can stop the acquisition first and then click the Save Image button. So that's the basic way. However, if you are saving multiple images, it can get repetitive, and if you want to save a sequence of images within a short time frame, this method may not be fast enough. We can therefore automate the image file name generation in the Application Option dialog. Here, click on the Image Saving tab, and then enable the Automatic Image File Names option. Here we need to set the target path and then configure how the automatic file names will be generated. We have the root file name and the file type. So here I will set the file name to turntable and leave the file type as PNG. At the bottom of this section, we see a preview of the complete file name. At the moment, we would generate the same file name repeatedly and overwrite the last image we saved. So we can include the image counter so that each new image will have an original file name. If this is not the first time we have used the file name, we can reset the counter to 0. Or we can use the system date and a timestamp taken from the system clock to generate an original file name. If there are multiple cameras connected to the system, we can also ensure that images saved from each camera are saved to separate folders. In this case, enabling the Create folder for each camera option will introduce an additional subfolder based on the camera serial number. Now we can close this dialog and return to the main Peak Cockpit screen. With the automatic file name generation, each time we click Save, the latest image is automatically saved with no further user interaction required. And we see here a new file saved with each click with a unique file name. If using overlays, which are covered in a separate video, it is also possible to save the overlays in the image by holding Ctrl and clicking on the Save Image button. We can go one step further with the automatic image saving with more of a streaming approach. Before we enable this, we need to stop the acquisition, and you'll see why in a moment. Back in the Application Options and the Image Saving tab, at the bottom of this page, we can enable automatic image saving along with the automatic file name generation. Here we can enable unlimited image saving, or we can limit the image saving to a pre-configured number, useful to avoid filling up the hard disk. When either of these options are enabled and the camera is acquiring in continuous acquisition mode, the system will save every image acquired, so long as the system can keep up. And this is why we need to stop the acquisition before enabling this feature. If we want to limit the number of images we save, we can control this in several ways. We can manually start and stop the acquisition and rely on the configured frame rate or the stop automatic saving limit. We can use the single frame acquisition to acquire single images. Or we can trigger the camera, either manually through software triggering, or we can use an external hardware trigger to control the acquisition rate or acquire images based on external events. In all of these cases, we end up with individual images. If, however, we want to record a video, then we can use the Record Video feature. First, we need to set the path for our video and the file name. The video recorded will be in AVI format and encoded in MJPEG format. We do not support any other codecs or video formats. The JPEG quality slider determines the compression level and the resulting video quality. Higher compression ratios will also consume more system resources, so you have to balance the system load during recording with the size of the resulting video file. The video file can either be encoded at the frame rate that the camera is running at, e.g. if the camera runs at 10 frames per second, playback will also be at 10 frames per second. Or we can encode the video at a custom frame rate. And this can be useful if acquiring at higher frame rates. If the video is encoded at 25 or 30 frames per second and the camera is running at 200 frames per second, the resulting video will be in slow motion. As with the image saving, the frame rate can be controlled by setting the frame rate on the camera or by using a software or hardware trigger. Once configured, we can start the recording. During the recording, we can see the number of images recorded, any dropped frames, and the current file size. To avoid overwriting the previous file, if we start the recording again without providing a new file name, we see a prompt asking if we want to overwrite that file. So that's how we can save images and videos from Peak Cockpit. As part of the Peak software development kit, we provide these tools to build all of these functions into your own application. However, these are targeted more towards camera evaluation and are not optimized for applications such as high-speed video recording. The performance is dependent on the system resources, so if the intention is to build this into your application, it is important to test the performance meets the application requirements.